Hi guys, it's Sherry. Today we are going to be doing something new. I just received these in the mail, so I absolutely love this. When I saw this, I had to jump on it and get it. It's a stained glass silk screen. So of course, I love stained glass, and these particular ones I got for earrings. I wanted to make something special for my grandson's mother because she loves sunflowers. So that's what I am going to do. And another thing that I really like about this is these are sticky silk screens. I personally don't have any of them. So I love the idea of being able to do the stickiness because then I could put it on my wood. If you watch my channel, you know that I love doing wood blank earrings and necklaces. So eventually I am going to incorporate these silk screens onto wood blanks. I just need to find something that it will be the perfect size for. So as you can see, I am making sure I'm rubbing this over my clay. I want to make sure there's no bubbles underneath the silk screen. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. That much I know. And then I have my black acrylic paint. This is just a cheap black acrylic paint. You don't need anything special for, you know, clay with paint. Just as long as it's acrylic, it'll work fine. So I'm going to go over this. And I'm only going to make one pair this time. I have this clay. This is my translucent clay. I have it rolled out pretty thin. It's on my number 5 of my pasta machine. So I can see I missed some right here. So as I'm pulling it, I'm just checking to make sure that I got my pieces really well. I want to make sure I'm not missing any parts. I don't know why I'm having trouble with this particular one. And I'm good there. Okay. So now I'm going to rinse this out. You always want to make sure you rinse out your silk screens right away. And to my understanding, when you dry these particular ones, you want the sticky side up. So dry it and then put the sticky side up to dry. Okay, so I want this to completely dry before I do anything else. This one's already partially dry. And you can see because I had to go over this one a couple times that it's not. So I am going to get my alcohol inks ready. And I am actually going to be using resin alcohol inks. I personally prefer the resin ones for things like this because I feel like the ink itself is darker, so it'll work perfect. And the reason I have this rolled out to my number 5 is because I want them to be see-through. So I want my earrings when my grandson's mom is wearing them. I want the light to shine through them. So let me get my colors. I want to mix a little bit of my yellow and orange for the sunflower. And I am going to be using a very pointy brush. I want to make sure that I'm staying in those areas. I almost even feel like this one is a little bit too thick. Right there. You see how that's like flat? That's the one I'm going to use. That way I know I'm going to stay in the areas that I want to stay in. So I'm going to put the ink right onto my brush and then carefully start painting my earrings. I'm going to try to stay in my lines as if I'm like actually painting something and coloring and, you know, making sure everything stays where it's supposed to stay. I went a lot of detail into this piece. Okay, so now I'm going to go right into my yellow. I am not going to rinse my brush because I want them to blend real nice together. So I'm going to kind of touch both areas, and hopefully my yellow and my orange will blend beautiful. So now I want that to completely dry. This is already dry, so I'm going to start going on to that side now and do the same thing. And I am going to go back and forth with this because I want to make sure that everything stays the same. Okay, let's do yellow just right in the middle. All right, so now I'm going to let this completely dry. And while that is drying, we're going to start doing the edging because I want to kind of stay away from these areas. This way I'll know how much more I have to add, if it's too light, if I need to add a little bit more to make it darker, because sometimes as it spreads, it gets a little bit too light, and I want these to be nice and dark. All right, let's do bright red around the edges. Make sure you rinse your brush because you don't want to transfer the orange and yellow. All right, I am going to pass over this one more time just to give it a little bit extra, just to make it a little bit darker, because I want my piece to be nice and dark. I don't want it to have any yellow. Unfortunately, this is the white translucent for Primo, but when it cures in the oven, for some reason, it turns yellow almost, like a really weird beigey yellow. I don't like that. I don't want that on my earrings. So I am going to make sure that I go over my pieces a couple times just to make sure that it's nice and dark and none of that weird yellow color pops through. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to rinse that again. And now I'm going to do my leaves in green. And I almost want to do the fluorescent green just because I think it'll look really neat. All right, so, oops. For the little swirls, I'm going to do those white. Let's see. I never use white, so I don't know. Truthfully, I don't think it's going to do anything. So let's skip that white. And let's do, I want to do blue. I want to do different color blues for inside for my glass. So let me do 2 drops. And we need to absolutely bring fuchsia into it because that's one of my favorite colors. Let me put these over there so I remember which colors I'm using. All right, so I think 3 colors in that middle area will be good. So let's start out with our blue. And here I am going to be a little bit more careful because I want to make sure that I'm not going to have it bleed into any other colors. This is a dark color. And I'm going to go back and forth to make sure that I'm doing the same, what do you call that? The same blocks. Here I can see I got a tiny bit bled right there. So let me just pick that up. If you have any bleeding, just get a little paper towel or something and dab it up right away. I'm going to add some purple. I think there's too much red and pink. So let's go with some purple for the glass as well. Okay, so I have like a really pretty rainbow thing going on with the flower over here. So I am actually just going to kind of take a little bit and pull my stuff over and around kind of deal. So just to get some of that color into my petals as well. But not all of them, just some of them. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my paper here and go straight down. Pick up anything extra. Otherwise, it's going to take forever to dry. So just pick up anything extra. Look how cute that looks. Okay, so now I can see that I want to add a little bit more orange to some of my petals here. I just want to be very careful, just put a little bit on there. At this point, everything is so saturated and still like wet. So I want to be careful not to make it too wet. Otherwise, it's going to take forever for that clay to completely dry. And I want this dry before I move it. Get a little bit of that yellow. That's too much. I have some of the colors still in the petals or the flowers, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to go over my petals one more time. Because I had some bleeding on there as well. And then I'm going to let this dry. And then we will, I think I'm going to have to go over this one more time with my paint because I really saturated this, so to speak, that I'm actually moving some of my paint. So I want to really kind of just go over it one more time with my silk screen. And that was my fault because I just went over it a lot. And I kind of puddled everything up there. And you can see with me brushing over and over and over, I'm moving that paint. But I'm okay with that because we're getting like a really cool stained glass look here. So I'm happy with that at least. And with these silk screens, you're going to get cutters. So here's my one set. Okay, so I'm going to get my black paint here. And I am going to go over my entire edge here. Give me a nice pretty black edge. I was going to use my Sharpie marker, but I decided I think the black paint will actually be better because it'll come out crisper. Okay, so my pieces are dry. Now I am going to once again line this up the best that I can. I want to really make this perfect. So luckily, I can kind of see where everything is. And I like that we have the sticky because then we could really just put it right on there. And find those black lines right there. And this time, I'm going to do it a little bit different. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time I'm playing with these, you know, silk screens. So this is kind of like, let's play and see what we get. That's what I'm doing right now. And I am just going to start patting over this instead of rubbing it like I normally would, because not all of it was pulled up, only certain areas. So I'm hoping that I don't get overly too much ink. Not ink. Paint. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse this out. And then I'm going to put these in my oven. What I am going to do, since they are so thin, is I'm going to let these completely dry. Once they dry, I'm going to pull them up. I'm going to put them on my tile. And then I am going to put a sheet of paper on there with another tile. This way they don't blister up and they don't kind of get funky, or, you know, when you have a thin piece of clay, you have to be so careful with them, and laying that extra tile down on top of them really just helps them a lot. So here's my tile. I'll put those on, and I'm going to show you as I do it, but first let these dry, and then you'll see in the next video or the next clip. Okay, so I'm not going to clean up the edges until after I bake it. So what I'm going to do now is get a clean sheet of paper, and then I'm going to lay this over and put another tile on top. That way it does not bubble, it doesn't blister, it doesn't make anything funny in my clay while I bake it. And then I'm going to put this in at the recommended temperature and time, and then we will come back. All right, guys, so my pieces are out of the oven. I ended up putting some Sculpey Gloss Glaze on them, but I want to show you how nice these came out. I think I may end up doing some resin. This way I know that they're a little bit stronger. Right now they're very flexible. They're not going to break. I don't think they're going to break. But I think the resin's going to bring them out nicer. So let's get our holes drilled first. So I'm going to go right at the top where I want to put my earring piece. I'm going to go right in the middle. Let me make sure I got the middle. Get my resin. I just really think these are so pretty, and I really believe the resin is going to really make these pop more. So that's why I want to put resin on them. Because you can already see how much prettier they look. The Sculpey Gloss Glaze kind of left like little brush marks on, which I do not want on something like this. Sometimes I don't mind the brush marks, but this particular piece, I really want these to look beautiful and really give me that stained glass look. I'm actually going to carefully lift that up and put that flat onto here, so I can really get my resin right to the edge. I'm going to avoid the hole. Grab your lighter. Pop all those little bubbles that are in your resin. You don't want no bubbles. And then place this under your UV light. I put mine under for about 4 to 5 minutes to make sure it's completely cured through. Okay, guys, so here are my pieces. I really wish that I could show you what this looks like behind the light. So what I'm going to do is towards the end of this video, I'll post a photo. This way you can see what it looks like. So then the next thing that we are going to do is just put our jump rings on. So once again, you take the bottom, just turn it. If you don't want to turn it, you just add an extra jump ring. And then close it. And that's it. And then we have our earrings. So like I said, I'm going to put a photo at the end of this video so you can see this. I have a rose silk screen as well. I want to see how that one comes out, and I'm going to do it a different way that time. Or with the rose one, I think I may end up using acrylic paint after it dries. I'm not sure yet, but there's a lot of different silk screens, and I'm going to really play around with these and see what method I like the best. But I really hope that you enjoyed creating these pieces with me. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Make a comment, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.